we got this new single, this new record coming out right now, and we feel so fortunate that people want to talk to us this far into our career. It's nice that we've got all these people lining up wanting to talk, wanting to speak to us. So it's great to see your face because you take us back to those days, that's the beginning, dude. That is right at the start when we were just learning to do what we're doing.
Hey, when you talk about the new single Sam Quentin that's coming out on September 7th, now the one thing about this song, it reads like it almost seems like a plot to a movie. And I wonder now, do you know somebody who's been locked up and went through all that? Or is that like some nightmare dream you have of how everything's going to go off the rails someday?
Yeah, it was more about just one of those, what happened was I was at a birthday party, a buddy of mine who had invited a lot of people. And I met the warden from San Quentin. And first off, I couldn't believe that he was actually the warden because he was really young, like far too young to be the warden of a prison, let alone the warden of an infamous prison. And the entire time I was speaking to him, I'm just thinking, I'm going to write a song called San Quentin. And I wrote it down on my phone. And then when we started coming up with this riff, I spit out this line, as soon as I got to the, will somebody please keep me the hell out of San Quentin? Then I knew exactly where we were going. And I knew this was about, a night or a couple of nights that were just coming off the rails hard. And you were, myself or the character in my head or whatever it might be was just really trying not to wind up there or wind up back there. And away we went.
You're talking about a 10th studio album. You're going on a big tour after that. You got random dates through this year. Now, I actually heard a second song, which I wish to God I wrote down the title of, but I heard a second song. And all I could think of was, God, I actually like this better than the one I just heard. And I liked the one I just heard.
Yeah, I think you heard Those Days, if I had to guess. Starts off with, remember when the streetlights came on and we had to be home?
Well, which leads me to, one of the love it or hate it aspects of Nickelback is your regular use of hedonistic themes. Now, you guys ain't the same yelps you were back in the 90s. So what are you drawing on for inspiration now? I mean, you still can't be living that same decadent age lifestyle. So where are you writing from?
Can't we?
Well, you could be.
Yeah, I wouldn't lean too far into that comment. No, I think I've shifted out of fifth and into fourth. That's about as far as I've gone. But, thematically, when it comes to writing these songs, we grew up in the 80s, and that song that you're speaking of, we just went down this rabbit hole of all those things from back then. And if you grew up in the 60s or the 70s or whatever it is, if somebody starts listing off a bunch of things from that era, from your childhood, and they put it into a tune, all that nostalgia is just going to come flooding back, and it feels great. So one was just so easy for us because we just went down this list of remember this, like all these things. Like, when was the last time you saw a kid doubling another kid on a bike? It was like just simple stuff like that. Like, we went down all this list of like the movies from that era, and the vehicles and how we were dressing and what we were listening to on the radio, all that sort of stuff. I mean, so that's just one topic, the whole growing up.
Yeah. I think into, as like, yeah, what are you drawing on for these songs? I mean, like he's talking about, that's when we get traction on something, then you dig into it and you like, and I think, it comes from an honest place. So when that happens, then, that you're on to something that, you're engaged in and you're really being honest about, or something that just drives you. And it could be something that's that you didn't expect. Like, I don't know how much we talk about the rest of the album or how much you could put on there, but there's a song called Tidal Wave that we got into, and Chad played me this riff just to it sounded like, and I'm just like, this doesn't really sound like us. I like it. Like, I kind of like this just because it was just some different kind of avenue. And I'm like, and then everybody I think felt it. Like, it was just something different than you can sink your teeth into. So, I don't know, man. We just kind of go with whatever inspires us that day. I feel like, and it can change so much from day to day, like so much.
He still can tap into that rock and roll spirit, the rebellious youth. I get asked as a programmer all the time, what makes a great Nickelback song? I say, well, if it works on a stripper pole. And
someone else just said that. Yeah.
And that's
just commenting on the fact that we get played in strip clubs a lot. We think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny that I get to stand on stage and start songs with "I like your pants around your feet." I think that's funny. To hear people say that they think that we take ourselves seriously is it just adds to the joke, because that is like, because you can't say lines like that without laughing. Like we've got a song with the you look so much cuter with something in your mouth. Like, to me, that's funny. Like, you guys played it on the radio, and I get to sing it every single night in the set, and the whole crowd sings every word back to me, and it's funny. That's really funny. I guess the only thing we didn't do was take sort of a Jack Black element to maybe a visual and really lean into the whole comedic aspect. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that we get away, well, you can't get away with it anymore. There's no way we could possibly write that kind of stuff now. It would just be like instantly canceled.
And so always one of the magical things about Nickelback, though, your songs, guys, besides that hedonistic, you've got great pop sensibilities with memorable, hooky songs that reach out and emotionally connect with people. I mean, that's quite a duality to be able to pull off. And especially when you can pull it off, not only in the mood of an album from song to song, but on stage. To your point, Chad, You're up there doing that. How do you plan out the emotional roller coaster you're going to take people on live?
Don't start with a ballad. Don't end with a ballad. and just let it ebb and flow like a movie. Come out with a rocker, end with a rocker, and then just let it. And don't put too many of one type of song in a row, because then it just gets a little redundant. It gets a little mundane, and you. Once you bring it down and you get that emotional connection, you get everybody doing the, if it's Far Away or if it was something like that, or Lullaby, and then you bring them back up with a Burn It to the Ground or a Bottoms Up or an Animals or something like that. And if you want to get a little more serious, then you can move into a Savin' Me. The set just flows all over the place, and you get into some acoustic stuff. Maybe you do some Rockstar, Photograph. How You Remind Me is always going to be close to the end. So you just try and change it up. It's really hard for us to play all of our singles in one night. It's not really, it's impossible. Like, I can't sing. There's just no possible way I could sing all of our singles in one night. I'd just be dead. So we have to choose very carefully what we're going to do. And we also look at the history that certain cities or certain countries have. When we get to Germany, we have to put certain songs in the set that we don't play anywhere else in the world. When we get to Australia, we have to play different songs that they have played there that they didn't play anywhere else in the world. And so that's fun too, like being able to change it up in that way, to get that familiarity, because there's nothing better than having the whole crowd sing along to you all night long.
I find, not to go on, but I was just thinking about this you got asked this before, but I was thinking, we're really lucky, I think, to be able to do what we want to do, how we do it, which is heavier songs and some lighter songs, melodic songs, because I think, like, as probably a lot of people know, unless they have never seen the heavier metal kind of fan base. If you are anything less than metal, I mean, I think that gets a lot of scrutiny, a lot of hate if you go lighter than what you normally make. And if you're necessarily like a pop band that's been pop the whole time and all of a sudden switches to rock because it's in vogue or something like that, or it's becoming popular, it's neither may be very believable as like honestly what you do. And I think that was kind of the thing that the tightrope we had to kind of walk for a while, because we like doing the rock music. That's what we are. We are a rock band. But we also like good melodies too, and you can write lighter songs that can kind of connect people. We like it. And so we're able to kind of do that gamut live, which creates that kind of a, you know, almost like a movie style set list where you can get really heavy, but we can also break it right down to, more ballad kind of songs. I think the Foo Fighters did a great job of that as well. They could play some like solid metal song, and then they'll play like a nice, ballad song. It's like, to be able to do that, I think we're pretty fortunate, because, you get to scratch that itch of whatever kind of song you want to write.
Well, to that point, I think that that's very well illustrates the fact that you can take critics and detractors who aren't Nickelback fans, and by the end of a live set, win them over. And I've long said that the most rated shredder in rock is Ryan Peake. It's just not getting the due, man. I have seen you so many times. I stand there with my jaw open going, how does this guy not end up on the cover of every magazine, critically acclaimed with what you're capable of doing? And how
I feel
you
the
do
same
that?
way.
Well, I appreciate that very much. It's very kind, but I'm standing next to somebody that can put me in the grave, so it's really hard to kind of stand out. You know what? I appreciate that. It's very kind, but I think we're pretty fortunate to have the chemistry on stage that can allow everybody kind of to do their thing and show their thing. So it's like, I think that's pretty special in our case when we recognize that, I think, and it's like, hopefully that translates to fans. But I thank you. I appreciate that. It's very kind.
You've been called by more than one publication one of the most commercially successful Canadian bands. Does that designation hold a special place, kind of like some national, maybe takes you back to growing up when people told you that Canadian bands maybe weren't going to be as big as others, depending on what decade you're talking about, British metal, Texas metal, Pantera. There's so many more other than Triumph, Rush. Canada wasn't going to have a lot of bands necessarily that were in the rock vein. April Wine did a pretty good job of it. And I could go on and on and on because I've been doing this forever. But I mean, does it mean a lot to you to be kind of like the torchbearers of Canadian rock? Or do you feel like you're just the rock band and it just happens to be where you're from?
I wanted to be the biggest band from Hannah, Alberta.
Yeah. True.
A town of 2,900.
Yeah.
It's like,
I've got pride of being a Canadian band for sure. I've got more the fact that we're able to go globally and take this everywhere, because as much as, I'm proud of where we're from, I'm happy that it's been accepted kind of everywhere. I don't find that we're like, as you say, like a torchbearer of it. I mean, I think just to be in the kind of echelons of some of the, what we can call our peers, some mega bands like your
Rush.
Rush and Triumph, stuff like that. I mean, I think it's such a compliment to even suggest that. It's great. It's really cool. I really like it.
One of the mythologies of the band, and I've seen it in a couple of sources, is that when you guys first started out, you were called Village Idiot. Is that myth or is that truth?
That's true, but I wasn't singing in the band. I was just playing guitar in Village Idiot.
Yeah, and we were a singular idiot. Village Idiots.
And that's when we truly wanted to be the biggest band from Hannah.
Okay, now think about it. You should do the Village Idiot reunion tour.
We
just like when Spinal Tap, remember, did the jazz thing and then went back to Spinal Tap. Think of the merchandising opportunities.
Think of the merchandise, exactly. Okay, so you must have heard something. I don't know. We have a documentary coming out, the forever documentary has been forever coming out in the last like 4 years.
Yeah, the never-ending
Yeah,
documentary.
it's finally getting together here, and there is a thread in that documentary about exactly what you're saying, because it just kind of came together pretty quickly. We ended up doing something with the old band members, and it was a blast and it was fun.
We went back to Hannah,
Yeah.
and we played the community center in Hannah, Alberta. Population 2,900. What does the community center hold? 400
people, I
maybe.
think. So,
And we had our old singer, from our cover band come up
and old drummer.
Yeah, and old drummer. And
Mike was the old bass player.
yes,
Okay.
he was. And like you guys started before I did. I wasn't able to even play in the bar, because when you guys played the Canada Grey motor in, I think I was 6.
We were a trio.
I was 17, and I was on my bike outside the bar listening, and it broke my heart, because I was listening to the lead guitar player that you guys had, and he was terrible, and I could hear him hitting all these really bad notes outside the bar, and I'm just like, dude, practice.
It was back home.
And it just killed me. So then the second I turned 18, because the legal drinking age in Alberta was 18. So you guys were all in the bar playing away there, and I the band so bad. And then like the day I got out of school, we were on the road. We were gone, and that was it.
There we are.
I hadn't heard anything. That was just asking a question in the imagination. I thought, oh, that'd be so cool.
Insightful.
That would be fun.
So insightful.
Good question. But at some point we'll hopefully you'll enjoy this piece that we've got in it, because it's exactly that.
You're gonna watch this thing and be like, I called it. I called it.
I think I'm a little familiar with Nickelback from the years of all the stuff we've done repeatedly. And that's one thing I want to say is I don't know how long I got, and Bradley, I'm just hanging, so I'll make it a little short. I'll do my 20 minutes, but I did prepare a little Canadian treat handy.
Nice.
So a little 40 Creek Barrel Select, and look there, it says Long Live Rock. So in my Long Live Rock, I say Long Live Nickelback, a toast to you guys. 10 albums over 20 years as a recording touring act. And oh my God, the thing that blows me away
some
the
whiskey.
most.
I want to cheers you back. We got to get some.
That's very kind, man. Thank
Oh,
you.
wait, I'm sorry. I didn't finish the.
No.
You got now. Just put
Now you go.
Now, if you just
There we
put
go.
a hint of Coke on there, Coca-Cola, you got yourself a black tooth, as Dime would say. Black tooth.
The thing that blows me away of all the statistics, YouTube views, billions, not millions. I mean, you've got millions, you sold, your concert tickets, all of it's impressive, but billions. Okay. What's the most mind-blowing to you statistic? That's my final questions. I don't care if it's Spotify, if it's streams, if it's YouTube, if it's anything. What is the one thing you look at and go, wow, did we really accomplish that?
Good question. To be perfectly honest, I don't pay attention to the stats. I think it can kind of get to your head if things are going that well. What I can say though is, and they've been telling us this lately over the pandemic and time period, and now they just say our Spotify plays have been going up and up, and are at, not sure what the numbers are, but
Our monthly listener,
monthly listener,
without even putting out new music. Yeah,
we just shut up and don't do anything,
Yeah,
and
we just sit back.
and things are like it's almost like the younger generation is discovering the band for the first time, and these guys break down the demographics and all the information about who's listening to you. That's what I'm most blown away is when the younger generation starts to discover your stuff and your new stuff and your old stuff, and it's super flattering that you think that you can kind of, it's like when you saw us kind of starting out going to the States, and then you have a certain wave of popularity, and then that can wane to a degree as things become cyclical as they do, and to have a potential for a, kind of a second life or resurgence, or the fact that we're still even in the business, that blows me away. That blows me away that people even still want to hear the music. So that for me is the biggest thing. I'm still surprised people want to take our phone calls to talk about our new music. So it's great.
We have a new album. We have a new album coming out. Does anyone care?
Does anybody care? Hello, Bueller.
Well, one thing's for sure. The new music, obviously, we can't get into it much because you're not ready to talk about it. And none of us have heard it yet, but 10th studio album on the way. To your realization, maybe it's this, and I'll see what you guys think of this, and then we'll call it a wrap. Now, like, for example, in America, we came off a political turmoil that was just staggering, threatening our very existence in many ways. The divisiveness in the country is insane. Mm-hmm. You've got the global pandemic. Everybody's life changed dramatically. And then as we start to come out of it, you end up with a war unlike anything we've seen in this current generation. Yeah. Now, there have been other wars and other conflicts have taken place since the last, since Iraq, you go back to the American-Iraq War in the early 90s. But now what's going on in Ukraine, you've got all these things taking place. Do you ever think or make the connection that maybe your music, what it's meant over the years, is comfort food? And that's why so many of your fans are coming back. The cycle's returning. They're remembering why they loved Nickelback. And along the way, they're introducing new people who are making that discovery.
As an artist, like as a musician, as a songwriter, we create. Therefore, it's like, we are not a necessity. We're expendable. So that's what I truly feel like. We don't grow food. We don't defend a nation. So we are, so what we do for a living is a luxury. Because we're just entertainment. So we entertain. I've always thought that it's an absolute honor and a privilege to be able to do what we do for people. And so I've always thought of us as that. But I think you're absolutely right. Because of what's going on, and it's happening, it's not just with us. I think it's with everybody. Everybody is looking back more than ever. Everybody's like, I want to hear this because I want to think about this time in my life.
Or I want it to make me feel like this.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's because that type of nostalgia, and that's what we were talking about before with that other song we've got on this record called Those Days. Looking back to a better time. I mean, that's happened throughout the dawn of, throughout civilization, is thinking back, to a better time in our lives. And it's a great feeling. It is a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And I think that people are doing that more than ever, because back in the day, we used to do it a bit and be like, oh, I love the song. It reminds me of my childhood. Oh, I love the song. I used to crank it up with my buddies. But as we go on, the longer we go on, the more that feeling means to us. And I think it's just more important now than it ever has been.
Yeah. And I agree with that totally. I mean, because as you say, like as a musician and songwriter, but as a music lover, just enjoying music on your own, like that's where sometimes you go to. That's sometimes it's your safe place. That's like going to things that make you feel a certain way, make you feel good. If that can, I don't know, if we can get that into, that's the most important thing. If people can kind of get back to that spot instead of, trying to find out how different everybody is from everybody else, and that we've got a
common thread.
Yeah, our differences that define each other sometimes it seems on social media more than their similarities. And if we can get back to that spot, you can kind of get to a better place to have conversations and like you say, have just people talk to each other. At least talk to each other. It would be good. Music's a great start. Whiskey's not a bad start sometimes as well. So
start the conversation.
Yeah.
Sing along. A lot of things can happen in the sing along.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly right.
Well, I'll say it again. Long live Nickelback.
Buddy, thank you so much.
Kevin,
it's great to see you, Kevin.
Great to talk to you.